make this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Tuesday night, no fooling around, not kidding, not joking. It's April Fools, but we are not fooling. We have a really, really cool show for you tonight on Greenie Sports Cards Live, as we try to do every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern here from the worldwide headquarters of Greenie Sports Cards in Northeast Ohio, coming to you straight out of Twinsburg, Ohio, for Greenie Sports Cards Live. And we've had no shortage of guests since we started doing this about a year and a half ago. Athletes, entertainers, influencers, coaches, and we're going to continue that parade tonight. We've got a packed show for you. We've got Gary Buchanan of Cardfather Games will join us to talk about the big Pokemon show coming up this weekend, April 5th, that Greenie Sports Cards is involved with as well. This will be Northeast Ohio's first all Pokemon show. So we're going to talk about the growing trend of the trading card games beyond just sports cards. So you may just label us Greenie Cards Live tonight. And then we're also going to catch up with Joe Wysmierski from Phoenix Sports Cards. Joe has plenty of hobby updates for us, as he does every week, our resident expert Joe, going coast to coast from Phoenix. We'll be bringing Joe in shortly. And then very excited to talk to Coach Shawn Hood, who was a key member of the 1986 Sweet 16 team of the Cleveland State Vikings that upset Indiana and St. Joe's and then ran into David Robinson and the Naval Academy. We'll get to talk to Shawn about his career, his coaching career, and he's got some really cool stories to share from back then and beyond. So very, very packed show. So without further ado, we're going to bring in the man himself, Steve Greenberg, a.k.a. Greenie, the namesake, founder of Greenie Sports Cards. Welcome to your show, Greenie Sports Cards Live.
Hey, Jeremy, thanks for having me. Happy April 1st.
Yeah, Greenie, I got to tell you, this day really stresses me out because I've got a healthy dose of skepticism most days, but you can't believe anything you hear today.
No, I saw I don't know how many tweets or Instagrams, and I was like, I got to copy these and share these. Like, this can't be happening, and it's not, right? It's not. Yeah.
It's a stressful day. We're almost through it, but we're not kidding around here when we say we've got a really cool show. Before we get into that, we're going to bring in Joe, and we'll follow that up with talking to Gary Buchanan, the Cardfather Games, and then Coach Shawn Hood will be joining us later. We do want to send out congratulations first and foremost to the Cleveland State Lady Vikings, who have reached the final four teams of the WNIT basketball tournament. They will take on Buffalo at 6 p.m. tomorrow night after defeating Purdue Fort Wayne last night in just an all-around complete game, probably their best game of the season. And I heard echoing Coach Kielsmeyer At this time of year, I think there's no more than 10 teams that are still playing basketball, and Cleveland State is one of those.
Yeah, I mean it's no secret that we enjoy these games, and I purchased ESPN Plus just to be able to watch these games, and last night was a pretty dominant performance by the Lady Vikings. I know they only won by 11, and it's not like they were even up by more, but they played terrific all around basketball, and their leading scorer was back, Destiny Leo. She had a heck of a game, and all of them they played terrific. So yeah, can't be happier for them. They play a tough Buffalo team tomorrow, and listen, I mean this is why they play the games. Anything can happen. Anything did happen in 1986, and we had a Cleveland State number 14 seed. Was the first time a 14 seed ever made it to the Sweet 16. So yeah.
Yeah, lots of cool memories for that, for the city of Cleveland and for us personally. And Cleveland State continues to make memories. We're going to root on the Lady Vikings tomorrow, and it's a special team. They've got a chance to do something special tomorrow night again.
They do, no question. Yeah, can't wait to looking forward to that. It's so I mentioned the ESPN Plus, and I know that we give the shout out to the Lady Vikings, but I always look to see if there's something on of any of our student athletes. And right now, the UConn softball team is playing, and Kat Petty's was up. You probably saw. I was taking a picture of something when you were reading before. It was of her while the show was going on. So that'll be posted later. But I like to keep track of the over 60 now student athletes, Jeremy, that we have NIL trading cards for at greeniecards.com.
Yeah, really cool stuff. And as we've shared, portion of those proceeds go to support the student athletes, and a really unique piece of memorabilia. You can support those student athletes from schools from Ohio State to Nebraska to UConn, as you mentioned, to Cleveland State, to Akron, to Ball State, and all the way out to the University of Washington, coast to coast. And the unique item comes personally signed by the student athletes themselves, and you get a piece of that, and then you get to share in their experience and help support them. And so there's lots of NIL money being thrown around these days, but it is at the very top of the pecking orders to the top schools, top teams, primarily football and men's basketball. But this is a way to support student athletes across the country. So very cool. As Greenie said, go to greeniecards.com to see the more than 60 athletes and growing that you can choose from.
Yeah, terrific. It's something that we love doing, and getting into the trading card space is really cool. So yeah, we look forward to creating more of these.
And then coming up this weekend, Greenie, we'll talk to Card Father Games in a little bit more detail. But you've got a sold out show, the first of its kind, a all Pokemon show. First of its kind in Northeast Ohio, and that's going to take place this Saturday.
Yep, can't wait. Saturday, April 5th at Broadview Heights. Sold out tables. We have a waiting list. It's unbelievable the amount of traction this show has gotten in such a short time. And yeah, we look forward to it. I look forward to learning the Pokemon world. Alex, our auctioneer, he's one of the biggest. You could see his outlaw collectibles. So yeah, he'll be right there with us, the front of the room, and we're going to learn some Pokemon.
Yep. We're evolving from Greenie Sports Cards to Greenie Cards and Greenie Sports. So check that out if you're in the Northeast Ohio area, April 5th in Broadview Heights for an all Pokemon show. And we'll be talking plenty more about the Great Lakes Collectors Convention in the coming weeks. That is April 25th through 27th. Of course, that'll be Ohio's largest sports collectible show, 50,000 square feet at the Independence Fieldhouse. So, but meantime, Greenie, there's lots and lots of hobby news. We've got a packed show. We want to make sure we get Joe in here and get all the updates. So let's go ahead and welcome from Phoenix Sports Cards, our resident expert, Joe Wysmierski.
I got my Lady Vikes horns, not to be confused with the Bulls of Buffalo. So go Vikes. Hopefully they can
go
take
Vikes.
them down. Definitely some good stuff coming out. super high level, though, is a non-licensed football product, Inception Football from Topps will be coming out. But some two cool products that I really want to highlight. The first one is Bowman U Basketball. So this is going to have Cooper Flagg's first Bowman autos in it. It's also going to have Juju. And that drops on Thursday. Typically, it's a Wednesday, Friday release, but this drops on Thursday. And there you have it right there. The beautiful Cooper Flagg first Bowman card. And then it's also going to be matched with his first auto. So a super exciting product, because this is going to be one of the few products where it's all licensed by the same company. So his McDonald's All-American card, his Bowman U, and his first NBA card will all be under the Topps banner as they take over in October.
That's awesome. He's the biggest name in college basketball right now.
Yeah, and they truly believe, I know we can all, it's up for debate, but they believe they do have a shot that he's going to stay in college for one more year to refine his game. He's someone who is being paid by New Balance to wear his shoes. He's probably making, I would say anywhere from $6 to $10 million just in endorsements and NIL money right now. And another year goes by, another opportunity for the collective bargaining agreement to change in the NBA for him. And then someone made a great point today. I was listening that, let's say the Washington Wizards do win. You have a chance to be on TV every night playing for Duke or playing regionally. If you're New Balance and you want your shoe brand out there, you're probably going to really encourage him on that college. And what more encouraging than $100 bills,
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. I mean, we've heard of college athletes, staying a little bit, or going pro. You never know. Maybe he'll be one of the first that really comes out and says, "Yeah, I'm making way more money in college, and I'm going to stay here."
Absolutely, and this is going to be another great product for people that are looking to find the next up and comer. Remember, Juju Watkins 2 weeks ago, or about 10 days ago, tore ACL. So
Right.
she was like right at, starting to peak with the big game that they had yesterday, if she was still active and able to play. So this might be an opportunity, if you're a big Juju fan, to get in to any breaks or to buy a box and come across one of her first refractors or an auto at a reasonable price before she gets back on the court.
Yeah, that was a shame. Saw her go down, but her team's still looking good in the Final Four.
Yeah, and the next product I want to discuss too is Topps Finest Soccer. It's MLS. I know you guys are like, wow, Joe, MLS. I'm telling you, this is going to have the debut patches in it for soccer. So
that's big.
What's bigger than the opportunity to get a Lionel Messi auto, Suarez auto? We're hoping that everything's been cleared up and his brother did not sign in this product for him. We're hoping that it is Lionel. That would be great that we got that quality control taken care of. But just the finest refractors, the color, the numbers, and then as soccer continues to build in the United States, even though we can't get over the hump of our national team losing to Canada, we need to keep building. And there you have it, the debut patch right there. They're gorgeous. And you have an opportunity to get one of those in this product.
So those debut patches are. Do you think they just cut the patch off and they let the player keep that actual jersey to like hang on their mantle or man cave? Like, how do you think that works?
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't know how any of it works, but my guess would be time they changed the jersey. So I think they put a fresh one on, and then that original jersey I think goes to, potentially to Fanatics, and then maybe to the soccer club that they represent. They get the rest of the jersey, and then they determine what they're going to do with it from there. But I think they definitely have quite a few of those jerseys just in case. I mean, because if you think about it, I mean, soccer can be a physical game. And if you're running away and someone grabs your jersey and they rip half of it, there's got to be others definitely there for them.
Yeah, that's it. You're right. I don't know how it works, but it's really cool, and it's going to be in the NBA as well.
Yeah, and those are going to be highly sought after, and that's what gets me excited about cards is having those different patches that you can chase and those different products that are available. And now that it's spilling over into soccer, it just widens the collector base, right? Typically, we don't really have a spot on this show that we talk about soccer, and so being able to highlight it for a couple of minutes, let alone not even talking international, just talking North American soccer here with MLS is, a step forward in collecting, especially for MLS cards.
So yeah, tell us about the few hits that happened in the shop.
Yeah, so there's a hit that I had sent over. So Baxter, he is the Diamondbacks mascot, and we had a customer hit the foil fractor 1/1 that you can see there. It is a gold foil fractor. It is a 1/1, and that came out of the Top Series 1 Celebration product that just came out last week. To my knowledge, this is Baxter's first 1/1, and we have reached out to the Diamondbacks and Baxter to see if they wanted to make a trade with this customer for the 1/1. Just another cool thing that they could have at Chase Field. And again, just building the collecting community and making it accessible to not only Baxter's fans, but all Diamondback fans.
Yeah, really cool. Really cool. I hope they make that trade, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are we heading into mascot territory where mascot cards are going to be sought after?
So it's funny you say that, Jeremy, because in this product, Topps Dynasty, which is a very expensive product, they have the mascot patch autos, Dynasty patch autos in this product that you can chase after. So yes, to your question, we are going into that area, but it's something that they've been doing for quite some time. Celebrations, I really think, kind of it built on Series 1, but in the past we had a product what was called Topps Big League that did feature some mascots in there, and I think they kind of retired Big League, and Celebrations kind of kept the steam rolling with Series 1, but then added the mascots to the actual realm here.
Just wait until we get the game used mascot inserts.
Yeah,
a little bit of
like
slider fur and who knows what else.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So you're ripping something.
So that's
What-
that
what-
right there.
What's that, Joe?
That's Topps Celebrations. So that product right there, Celebrations, is exactly what we're discussing. It's a continuation of the Series 1 product, but it also has the ability to hit mascot cards, but also big head cards where it's an exaggerated picture of one of the players' heads. So it's kind of like a case hit that people are looking to chase right now.
Very interesting. I like that. You were telling me off camera about the Arena Club hit. What can you tell us about that?
So another customer of ours. So Arena Club offers their kind of digital mystery packs, but they're real live cards. But the way that you can actually open it is it's a digital pack. So it is not for the faint of heart. It is a $1,000 mystery pack. And our customer was like, I was feeling a little froggy, so I jumped. They opened the digital pack, and they hit what they call their Grail card. It is a PSA 10, 1/1 Paul Skeens rookie out of Bowman Best. And what they do with Arena Club is they give you the option to buy back the card or sell the card immediately. So they gave this customer an offer of $25,000, and
Wow.
took the offer. And I said, hey, there's something called short-term capital gains. You want to reach out to a tax professional on that, my friend, and then go from there. But that's exactly what they are, slab packs there, and they have different levels. They do a great job advertising what the floor and the ceiling are. And then once the card is opened up, they also tell you what the market value is. And then they offer a buyback on the product. So again, super high risk, high reward. They give you the ability to keep the card there with Arena Club, where they keep it in their library, or you can have it delivered to yourself, or you can actually take that buyback. So something cool, something unique for all the collectors. But he did mention today when we saw him, when he took the buyback, that card went back into the mix, and he saw someone else hit the card too. So they must be doing great business at Arena Club that they can take a card like that and throw it back in immediately and maybe take another payout. So,
Joe, who could have ever imagined that in this industry, the collectibles hobby, that people would require tax advice and attorneys and consideration of everything from retirement to capital gains tax?
yeah, Jeremy, I honestly, I said, hey, this would be a great opportunity to reinvest that money right here at Phoenix Sports Cards so that you're hit with those taxes. But, he's a great customer of ours too. And he's a younger guy with a younger family. So it's just like, hey, Uncle Sam will be come knocking on your door as soon as that deposit hits your bank account. So be wise with your money, my friend.
Yeah, but listen, that's the gambling aspect of these, right? I mean, we say it. This is a casino. It's a slot machine. You roll the dice, whatever metaphor you want to use, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and somebody has to win, or otherwise these things wouldn't keep going, right?
Yeah, I mean, to that point, Greenie, our general manager at the shop, Ray, he was like, Joe, let's each go 500 in on one. I was like, no, that's disgusting. That makes me sick even thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's
Greenie, I spent $500 at Costco this weekend on groceries for 2 weeks. I said, that's enough $500 bill.
It's a lot of cheddar.
It is, and that's why there's a lot of new people in this industry who, let's face it, they don't care about sports. They just need a fix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do.
And it's Pokemon too. I mean, there's Pokemon breaks.
Well, you saw right there with Arena Club, they have $1,000 Pokemon.
That's right.
Here, you probably see this. Again, I'm just growing as a Pokemon buyer, but I was able to buy this little guy today.
Charizard.
Yeah.
And if you notice on the outside here, he doesn't have a shadow. So that's what they call a shadowless Charizard, as opposed to this guy that has a shadow. Big time Pokemon talk here. So, yeah, we did good.
And who would have expected that as well? David, thank you for the shout out. As we've said, the industry has changed. But there is a place for everybody, right, Joe? You've got kids collecting cards because they're like us 30, 40 years ago, where they just want to find their favorite players. You've got investors. You've got fans of the game that from teenagers to grandparents that just want to collect. It's a really fascinating space that's open to everybody. And whether you're collecting Pokemon or trading card game cards or your favorite baseball or basketball player, it's kind of a fascinating space to be in.
And I think that's why these sports card shops will always live. They will live as long as there are collectors, because we have the ability to have a box of 10-cent Pokemon cards, or a back room where you can get 5 cards for $1. It doesn't have to be that big gouge right in your wallet. I mean, we have memorabilia that's $5,000 if you want to come in and buy that kind of stuff. But I mean, being able to cover all different, not only demographics, but just all price points. I mean, that's why the card shops truly will live forever, because they've diversified the amount of products that are available across the spectrum of sports and non-sports, and then it comes at different levels. So that's something that we can definitely be thankful of.
It's why we feel the same way, Joe, about live events and live collectible events, because there is a place for eBay and eBay Live and buying cards online. And that's opened up a whole world where people can have access to product and cards they would have never seen in their lifetime. But nothing can replace the tangible experience of going to a show and talking to other collectors and being a part of the fandom and rifling through boxes to find that magic hit. It's why we believe in the live event space. It's why, as you said, the retail space won't go away. It's really a space for everybody to play at whatever level that they're interested in.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's
I haven't had a chance to go to a national yet, but what I can tell you is I know that people know Greenie. They may not know him personally or have a personal connection, but they know Greenie's boxes from the national. And being able to have this show weekly and being able to be there in their region when the national happens, or just the multiple shows that Greenie puts on, again, that creates that sense of community, and it gives people the opportunity to meet the man, the myth, the legend himself in front of a $2, 90s insert box.
sure.
Like,
Sure.
it's very cool.
Well, thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. But I was gonna really touch on Jeremy's point, and well, both everybody's point. That's why these shows are so packed, and that's why when your doors open at 10 a.m., Joe, people are waiting to get in. As much as the online is a huge, huge thing, nothing beats the in-person transactions. And I mean, whether it's the sports card show or the Pokemon show or a Collecticon, I mean, you see it everywhere. These shows are packed, and it's the 20 table hotel show to the 400 table show that I was just in Chicago to the 800 table show that Jeff Roberts puts on in Nashville, and Cole had a whatever 400 table show in Arizona. And I mean, there's no shortage of big shows popping up everywhere, and people are going to them. I mean, it is bringing out a lot of people.
It's bringing out a ton of people, and it's also giving the opportunity, because I know at the Cole show recently, Mojo was out there and he was buying cards and streaming live. And so you build your personal community with your own brand, but then you can expose them to all of Phoenix and what the collectors are doing out here. So it's a great opportunity, like you said, to get out there, get to a show, get your feet wet, and then just to see all the new collectors come up and make an offer on something, have a discussion with a dealer, be excited to be here. I mean, it's something that I had to learn. Greenie, I was with you, and like you and I have spoke, I had to learn you had to bring peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the weekend. I love peanut butter and jelly. I'm armed with some food.
You do. That's my go-to for the national. I mean, it doesn't go bad. You have it for lunch, and it beats a $17 chicken tender basket.
Yeah, you can't do those.
Bottles of water too. Make sure
Yeah.
you stay hydrated at these shows. Lots of walking, lots of excitement.
Yeah. Were you guys able to purchase anything cool in the shop this week?
Yeah, I mean, the Pokemon that we've got, and then also recently we've got a gentleman who's made multiple stops in with a lot of Diamondback stuff. So a lot of cool bird, Corbin Carroll, Gabriel Moreno, Cattell Marte. Just seeing Frozen Fractors. This guy had 6 Frozen Fractors, which are they're the cards that are made to look like the player's frozen. There's ice on it, but they start at 0 and then they go to -5 is the number. So those are just, it's something you don't see every day. Like you really don't. And for this gentleman to have all Diamondbacks, I mean, right here in their backyard. So
Not Josh Naylor yet,
though. Well, hey, he's already producing.
He's hitting. He is. Yeah. I saw that
last night with the Padres. So hopefully they can dethrone them. We're going to need some help from the Guardians, but my Tigers, we finally got off the schneid and got our first win last night too. So here we come.
Well, I hope that's their last for the year. Sorry.
Well, Greenie, Jeremy probably doesn't know, but one of our first interactions together, I think it was 3 years ago, that the Tigers would have a Guardians, and that cost me a Brooks Robinson 1-of-1.
It did. It did. It was the Guardians. They had my back, Jeremy.
They shocked everybody last year. You know, we said going from the sun literally went out here in Cleveland on opening day on April 8th to Bieber going down, and then they made the playoffs. It was quite a ride.
You know, I thought we'd have a shot taking you guys out in the playoffs, but that dwindled quick. After we shocked Class A, then you guys came back and took care of business.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still shocked. Let's get him out of that.
Opening day.
Yeah, very cool. Well, Joe, thank you very much. We appreciate the insight as always, and we look forward to hearing more about it next week.
Awesome. Take care.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, very, very, very cool stuff. We appreciate Joe joining us from Phoenix Sports Cards and Greenie. I'm just really excited to welcome our next guest here. We have you and I have a long history with Cleveland State basketball. We've talked about that pretty much week over week, and it's pretty cool when you can kind of reflect on some history and welcome some people here. I'm pulling up a screenshot here real quick, Greenie, that we want to share.
I can't wait.
This one goes back a few years. So you may recognize a couple people in that photo. The guy calling the game there, of course, that's Coach Kevin Mackey and Ken the Mouse McFadden from that historic 86 season. The guy on the bottom there I recognize as my old man, my father, called play-by-play for Cleveland State basketball for 22 seasons. There's another guy standing over his shoulder that you may know.
Yeah, that's my dad, and he did a lot of the stuff with the radio station, and of course your dad last broadcast those games. And prior to that, we've shared my dad was a broadcaster as well and called Austin Carr's 61 points in the NCAA tournament, albeit he was calling it for Ohio University, and they took the loss that day, but
Right.
was still at the game. And we have his scorecard Austin Carr had signed for him, so we still have that here in the house. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. And reference that historic 1986 season with Cleveland State University, the first number 14 seed to reach the Sweet 16, taking down a number 3 seed. And our guest this evening is a Hall of Fame inductee, a 2001 inductee from Cleveland State University, Coach Shawn Hood, a former Cleveland State Vikings basketball player. He played a key role in that 85-86 season. And after his career, he transitioned into coaching, working under Coach Kevin Mackey and I believe Stan Van Gundy. We'll get that confirmed over at the University of Wisconsin. And he's been a coach at multiple levels, high school, college, and really, really thrilled to welcome in Coach Shawn Hood.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Shawn, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Good, Jeremy. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's a great time of year, isn't it?
It is the best time of year, and we ran into you a few weeks ago when the men were just about vying for their postseason lives, and had a nice little run.
Absolutely. They had a great year. They had a great coach, and he built a really wonderful program. I'm gonna personally be sorry to see Coach Robinson leave. What a class act. He really welcomed us, the alum, and like no other coach. Coach Gates was good, but Coach Robinson was awesome.
Yeah, so they're going to have their hands full replacing the previous two coaches. But Shawn, we want to take you back a little bit towards the beginning here to how you landed at Cleveland State University. Talk to us a little bit initially about what attracted you to the city, to the program. I'm not sure if it was Kevin Mackey, Coach Mackey, that recruited you, or if it might have been Ray Derringer at that point. But take us back to those early days. You're a teenager and you've got to commit to school. And how did you land at CSU?
Well, real quick, but there is some background. Kevin Mackey was the high school coach at Don Bosco Technical High School, where I went to high school. It had great tradition in terms of sports and academics, and Kevin had had great success at Bosco, and then got the Boston College assistant coach's job. So they had a guy in between Kevin Mackey and my coach, and Kevin Mackey helped my coach, John Grady, get the job. So when it came time for me, we won a couple state championships. We had great success. And when it came time for me to make a decision, my high school coach, he sort of pushed me towards Coach Mackey. Now, I had known Coach Mackey for a long time. He was recruiting me at Boston College, but I think it was my high school coach that put me over the edge. I was Coach Mackey's first recruit. I was the first guy he signed after he took the job. And then of course, you guys probably remember he had several other Boston kids and Cleveland kids that came after me. But I came with Coach Mackey.
Yeah, very interesting. Your first year here in Cleveland as a freshman, you started 30 games at a time when a lot of freshmen weren't starting that many games, right?
Absolutely. I started my first 2 years, and then in that season, that final 16 season, I got hurt. And I tore a cartilage in my knee, and so I missed. The trainer said I'd miss 5 games. I missed 1, but Mackey brought me back slowly, and so I was not ready to start. And he put Eddie Bryant in, and Eddie did a terrific job. And so I backed Eddie up. We both played 20 minutes a game, so we both played half the game. But Eddie was the first guy in after my sophomore year. But I did start the first 2.
Then, of course, that magical season, 85, 86. I was very fortunate. I think I was in 7th grade at that time and got to hang around the team, some practices, the games. You guys were superheroes at that point. When you look up to college students, now I'm 50 years old now, Shawn. They're kids. But back then, you guys are superheroes, and your entire team was very gracious. I have incredible memories of being around the team, of being able to travel. And then in particular, well, even before the first game, I remember being in Woodling Gym when we gathered for the announcement. Back then they had it on TV. We weren't even sure if CSU was going to make the tournament because there weren't automatic bids for the conference. And I just remember that magic moment of seeing the name come up. Didn't even realize who we were playing at that point. Eventually found out it would be Indiana. But talk about the emotions of that, to be a part of that team, to see the first team in Cleveland State history to go to the NCAA tournament, let alone when we get to the point of when you play Indiana.
Yeah, well, we didn't know. I mean, we were just kids, like you said, and we didn't know what the NCAA, how they operated, and whether or not we were going to make it. We knew we were good enough. We knew we deserved it, but we just didn't know. So we sat up in Woodland on the 3rd floor outside of Coach's office, and the cameras were there, of course, and we were really nervous. And so when they called our name, we just exploded in jubilation, and we didn't know who we played either. I mean, it seemed like 10 minutes, but it was probably 2 minutes before we actually felt like, oh my gosh, it's Bobby Knight and the end. But I think the fear probably subsided pretty quickly, and we felt like we could beat them, or perhaps anyone else that we faced in that first round.
Yeah, so going up against Bobby Knight, so I remember as a kid, obviously watching the games, but years after, John Feinstein wrote that book, A Season on the Brink, about Bobby Knight, and part of that book was the loss to Cleveland State. Going into that game, like what was the atmosphere like? I mean, this was literally David versus Goliath.
Yeah, and it's funny, and I, since that time, I speak to people who talk about David versus Goliath, and how how much of an underdog we actually were, but honestly, we didn't feel like that. There was no David versus Goliath in our mind, and there was no question that we could beat that team. We came in incredibly confident, and so I, 10 years after that year, I would see people in Dallas, and they would talk about that game and our run in the NCAA tournament, and I always marveled at it, because I thought, well, was it really that big a deal? And it wasn't until years later where I actually realized it was that big a deal. A 14 doesn't beat a 3 typically, and certainly little Cleveland State doesn't beat a Bobby Knight Hoosiers team, and so but we were very confident.
So that game took place in the Carrier Dome. You defeat Indiana. The next game down at 32 was St. Joseph's, I believe.
Right.
And I think they might have been an 8 or a 9. So it was you guys had to be feeling pretty good at that point. You had a shot. And talk a little bit about that, winning that second game, knowing you're going to make it to the Sweet 16 and actually play again the following weekend.
Yeah, they had a kid by the name of Mo Martin, and he was a pro, and so we were concerned about him. They had Bruiser Flint was playing point guard for them. He's I think he's still working for Coach Calipari now at Arkansas. He was a good guard. They had several good players, but again, there was no doubt in our mind that we could win, and that we were going to advance. And so the mistake we made was coming back to Cleveland. I talk about this all the time. I wish we had just gone straight to the Meadowlands, because once we got back to Cleveland, you guys, our fans, let us know how big a deal it was, and I think it softened us up. I honestly do think it softened us up. We had the right attitude going into those 2 games, going into the tournament, but I feel like we weren't quite as tough as we needed to be against a terrific Navy team. They were very good. They didn't just have David Robinson either, by the way. They had some good guards, Wojciechowski and Butler, and some other good players. And we should have won the game, but I just feel like had we gone straight to the Meadowlands, we would have been in a slightly better frame of mind.
I remember watching that game on TV. I know Jeremy was at that game, and I'm not trying to say the referees did anything, but man, that David Robinson went over somebody's back. But such is life.
Well, the biggest call was we were winning the game, and we were going to win. And Paul Stewart gets the rebound, and he covers it up, and they have to foul us, because if we keep the ball, the game's over. And he's big, strong Paul Stewart. He's got a great grip on it, and they're trying to foul him, and the referees end up calling a jump ball. That, to me, was worse than David Robinson's charge.
Jeremy, you're muted.
Yeah, I was just shrugging. It was tough all the way around. you mentioned earlier, Shawn, when I talked to you, from my vantage point at the game, it looked like Clinton Smith's shot was going down at the buzzer. And the winner of that game, Navy, ended up taking on Duke, ironically, who's in the Final Four this year. And that team had Danny Ferry as a freshman and Johnny Dawkins. And they routed Navy pretty well. But that run and stun team, you guys would have matched up very well against Duke. And I'm not guaranteeing that win, but it would have been a heck of a game.
I totally agree. They had good guards, and we had twice the amount of good guards they had, and of course had good forwards, and so did we. And I think our because they weren't as deep, our pressure would have perhaps bothered them, but they were terrific, and it would have been a tough game.
So speaking of the Final Four, and it's coming up this weekend, you were on a staff that made the Final Four, correct, in Wisconsin?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. That was one of the highlights of my basketball life. I remember getting into the Final Four. We had to beat a good Purdue team for the third time, and of course, it's really difficult to beat a team three times. And it went down to the wire, and we got the win. And what an incredible experience! So they hadn't really had great success at Wisconsin for 50 years prior to that. Stu Jackson had a little run, but it was real small. And we were having success. We were getting better, and then of course we make it to the Final Four. Well, they had a police escort from the airport back to the university that was amazing. And one of the other things that people take for granted is the practice for the game. There was 15,000 people in the stands, and you had to walk this long corridor to get to the court, and you couldn't see all the fans until you went through a curtain, and then all of a sudden they erupted, and I felt like I was playing again. And it was an incredible experience. Unfortunately, they matched us up against we got matched up against a Michigan State team that ended up winning the national championship, Mateen Cleaves and that group. But they beat us 4 times that year. They were the only team we couldn't beat, and we had to meet them in the first round.
Well, so Shawn, Greenie touched on your coaching career. You're at Wisconsin. Mentioned you've coached high school. You've coached, I think, men's and women's, perhaps at the college level. You've coached with and played for some tremendous all-time coaches. What have you taken away from that? What is some of the best advice you've received from coaches that you've been able to pass along to other prospective basketball players these days?
Well, I mean, it's funny, when I was at Wisconsin, I worked for an incredible guy by the name of Dick Bennett. You I'm sure know Dick's son, Tony Bennett.
Tony, yep.
On our staff, had great success at Virginia. Dick had great success at Green Bay, University of Wisconsin, Green Bay, and then before that, Stevens Point. I think he won a national championship there. Dick was phenomenal, and so I had the unique honor of working for 2 guys who were polar opposites, but did what they did to the highest level. Coach Mackey really brought that pressure to another level and really made it fun for the fans to watch. And, it was also fun for the players as well. Dick Bennett was a great half-court coach. He was a great half-court defensive coach. For example, Dick Bennett put out videos, popular videos about the push defense, push pressure where he pushed people outside and then trapped on the baseline, and it was a half-court pressure defense. And then I always teased Dick, when he got to Wisconsin, Green Bay, and he had to play against Kevin Mackey's Cleveland State team, he realized that he was overmatched and he couldn't pressure us like that anymore. So he created the pack defense that I love, that I used right up into my last days. And so that just goes to show you how good a defensive coach he was. He could teach the pack and make it successful and popular, and then change mid-season, if you will, mid-career, and create the pack defense, which, you know, Tony Bennett, myself, and so many others have had great success. And so when I got to Westlake, I said, I want to try to combine both of my guys' styles. When we were at Wisconsin and we came back from the Final Four, 50 years of bad basketball they had, and we went to a Final Four, and there were people still complaining about our style of play. Oh, what a great season, coach, but I can't take that anymore. Well, that told me that I don't think it's worth it playing that way. I would rather, you know, lose a few more games and make it fun for my players and fun for my fans than win playing that way. So I went to Westlake, and in my first year, I used 10 guys. I pressed, and then I got back and played half-court pack defense, and we won a conference championship. So, you know, you're right. I mean, I worked for two great guys, and I also worked for Stan Van Gundy. He was the one who brought me to Wisconsin. Unfortunately for Stan, I was only there with him for a few months before, you know, he got fired. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really get a chance to learn a whole lot from him. He awfully smart guy, very smart guy. I love watching him on TV today.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate you joining us. I could talk to you all day about Cleveland State memories. We let everybody know what you're doing these days, where they may be able to find you, because I believe you're doing personal instruction and coaching kids up these days. Where can people find you?
Absolutely. I run a program called 4K program, and it used to be a lot bigger, and I just turned 60, so it's dwindled down to just training players. I have several young players from the second grade all the way through high school, and I love it. The kids keep coming and they keep wanting to get better. And I do my training out of Goddard School in Westlake. And so I'll just leave my phone number. Can I do that?
Of course.
Yeah. My phone number is 440-865-0851. If anyone wants to get a hold of me because they want their kids trained up. Real quick, when I was coaching the boys at Westlake, I decided that I was gonna grab my daughter and 5 of her kids her age. I took them when they were in the 4th grade, and myself and another dad, I said, hey, let's take 5 or 6 of them and train them so they'll win a championship when they get to high school. So I took 5 of them. And I trained them, and my daughter never played anything but varsity from the time she stepped on the court. But the other girls I trained, they made the varsity as sophomores, and as sophomores they won the conference. As juniors they won the conference and the district. As seniors they went to the regionals. And so, you know, we knew we had a great formula, and then people started coming to me, and I've trained hundreds of boys and girls in this area, and and I love it. I love to go see the kids play now. And so I get to spend a lot more time with my wife, but I do go and see basketball games.
You're doing it. And we caught up with you at a Cleveland State game, and your name in Cleveland State basketball is pretty synonymous. So, we appreciate everything that you've done as our childhood, as we rooted for you and growing up following your career.
Thank you. You guys are awfully generous.
Cool.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach.
Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you very much. Go Vikes.
All right. Take care.
Yep. See you soon.
Our thanks to Coach Shawn Hood. I guess Greenie, I could talk CSU all day. We know this.
You could.
Lots of great memories. We're going to audible a little bit here. We want to make sure we give Gary some time and some run on the show. We know we were running a little bit behind, but we're going to extend the show by a couple minutes just to make sure we get a chance to talk to Cardfather Games. As we said, you've got the big show coming up this weekend, April 5th in Broadview Heights, and it's an all Pokemon show, all trading card game show. A little bit of a departure from the sports cards, but this is where the market's going. And we're going to go ahead and welcome Cardfather Games himself, Gary Buchanan. And
there he is.
Hey,
yeah.
guys.
So Gary, Jeremy, has just opened a store and was running a little behind because the store is pretty busy.
Yeah, we've been doing extremely crazy nights. It's been really crazy with opening my first brick and mortar here in the Grove City, Ohio area, and trying to really just gain an understanding about what brick and mortar really means. And so, when it's 7 p.m., that doesn't necessarily mean the lights go off. It's, it's what, if you've got customers in the store, you got to finish business, right? So,
tell us the name. Tell us the name of the store and where it is first.
Yeah, it's called Cardfather Games. It's in Grove City, Ohio. So it's it's Southwest Columbus area. We are in a small office park just outside of the main Grove City downtown area. In fact, if you Card Collector is literally 2 seconds down the street from us. So it's not too far away from the middle of downtown Grove City.
Fantastic. So let's tell us back when you started. How long have you been in Pokemon? And that's primarily what you do, right? It's just Pokemon.
Well, Steve, that's a great question.
Okay.
So no, it's not primarily what we've done or what we do.
Okay.
We started with Pokemon, obviously because it's the most easiest, well-known actual trading card game out there. And everybody can fall in love with Pokemon, but we started with Pokemon. We've been doing this for almost 3 years. We officially formed the business in 2023, and we became an LLC last September. So we were doing sole proprietor at that time, but we started primarily with Pokemon, and that's pretty much our bread and butter. So that's where we got our start, and that's where we have a lot of our inventory, but also a lot of our fandom comes from. But we have gone into other trading card games such as Magic or Arcana. We've ventured into Dragon Ball Z, going down into Yu-Gi-Oh! So all the main types of Pokemon are still available, but we still go into other trading cards. But that's also extended out into other versions of that as well. So we're not just doing cards either. We do handle accessories. We handle plush. We handle keychains. We do all of the extra things that are available throughout the entirety of what we offer in the TCG line. So now I will say this, no discredit to the sports world. Trust me, I know you guys are big, you guys are athlete heads all over the place. I tried my first collection buy was about $300 of sports cards. Can you guess? Can you just guess what era the baseball cards were in?
1987.
Yep, exactly. I have no clue about the sports world, no clue whatsoever about this. So I bought this whole collection of sports cards thinking, man, I'm gonna flip these things for $3 to $5, $7, $10 a pop. No, I still have them in the binders. I still have them in the boxes. They're in our inventory. They literally are just sitting because I have no clue about the sports cards.
But you can look at them and say never again. And they're right.
That's
You
right.
keep them.
Never again. Right.
That's right. It's a
Exactly.
keepsake. That's a lesson learned. And
That's right.
as well as now the difference for us is I'm gonna try to learn this Pokemon, and I know that it's easier is not the right word by any stretch, but like for sports, we have eBay, and then there's Card Ladder, and there's 130.
Sure.
There's an actual app that's just for Pokemon cards,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. There's an
And it's
actual.
really good.
Yeah, it's a marketplace app that's used. So you have your eBay, right? Obviously, you can use Collector, as an aggregator. But for mainline Pokemon or any TCG in that regard, it's called TCG Player. And so this company is actually owned by eBay, believe it or not. And they have aggregated hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of sales and details and analytics on cards, and that's how they come up with true market prices for singles. Now they don't do any slabs, so slabs we still have to rely on like apps like Collector or Alt, right? And eBay last sold. Price charting is another one that we use as well. But yeah, so value on cards is really controlled by the market value from TCG Player. So yeah, and it's a really pretty cool app. You can scan the cards through. You can do all kinds of crazy cool things with that, and get a good value of what your card bases are.
Gary Greenie mentioned he wants to learn more about this world. My kids are into Pokemon. That's about the extent that I know. It's a lot. There's a lot, much like the sports world. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to find out. What do you recommend where people should start? And maybe Greenie's the example. If you want to get into this
Yeah.
world, what are kind of the core tenets of the TCG world?
Yeah, so the core tenets within the TCG world are obviously community first. Like most TCGs are not volatile when it comes to people joining into the community, right? You're going to find that with a lot of TCGs, the community is really where people are involved. So getting involved in the community. So Greenie, taking yourself, buddy, I'm telling you, you got to come down to the shop, and I'll get you introduced to a bunch of people. But that's really where the first start is like get involved in the community space, get involved with a bunch of people. But if you're going to start buying your first packs or start cracking open your first boxes to get your cards, you're going to want to start with something a little more modern, something a little bit in the new space, and something that's readily available, something that's easy to find. Right now, in the card market alone, not just sports, but in TCGs, especially Pokemon, product is hard to find. So single packs are always good. And then, of course, buying singles is the best way to go. But we always recommend to all of our customers and to all the people who come and visit us at card shows, which, by the way, if you've seen me before at a card show, thank you so much for your support. It's meaningful to me. We always recommend start with what you love, start with what you're interested in. You don't necessarily need to go ham, spend thousands of dollars on a bunch of packs or a bunch of cards. But if you're into, say, a Pikachu or an EV card, start there. Collect all of those cards first and build out a collection that begins very small and then eventually grows into something bigger. I know guys who started out just collecting Pikachus, for example, and now have closets full of sealed product in cases because they've turned away from taking, and this is not using their kids' graduation money or using their kids' college funds, but they've literally taken money out of their stock market, stopped putting money in the stock market, started putting money into Pokemon because the return on value is incredible. And the crazy thing about that, guys, is the value return on Pokemon alone. There has not been, at least from my account, and people may correct me if I'm wrong, but I have not seen a single card or a single set in Pokemon lose value over time, ever. So my biggest thing that we say is Charizard can't break his leg, right?
That's right.
So
No, so it's interesting over the last couple years. We've had a few people set up with Pokemon in their display of sports, not Pokemon only. And then over like probably I'm just going to say the last year, I've had a handful of Pokemon vendors that would set up at our shows, and I know Justin down there at Columbus Card Shop runs a great show
yeah,
at Hilliard, and I've talked to him a lot. And, a few months ago, Adam and I and Jeremy were just like, there's been a lot of influx of people asking about it. And we're taking a stab at it this week. And really it's not a stab at it. The table's sold out in 2 weeks.
Yes, they did.
We kind of have an idea of what the market is dictating with Pokemon. And I guess why is it so hot right now? What is the driving fuel? What is behind the rise of Pokemon? Not that it hasn't been lately, but it was slow, and now it's wham, right?
Yeah. So really what happens is that unlike the sports world, TCGs have an ebb and flow. Okay. Especially Pokemon. This happens all the time. In fact, we were actually due for a rise or an increase in the market value and in the interest of Pokemon. And a lot of that has to do with supply and demand, but it also has to do with the actual game itself. But then the biggest part is the sets that are coming out. Since what we call Pokemon Scarlet and Violet 151, it's a set that came out in 2020, I believe it was 2023. When that set released, it was a nostalgia set. So that set went all the way back to the original 151 Pokemon from base. So if you were a kid and you opened up a pack of base set cards back in 1999, they were pretty much $3 or $4 a pack, and you probably still maybe have that Charizard or that Blastoise card in your binder at some point as a child. But that set is what set everything on fire, 151. And that's when we started to see the markets begin to heal, and we started to see the markets actually increase with demand. And then every set after that became something everybody was looking forward to. So now, pushing into 2025, we just released a set called Prismatic Evolutions, which is an all Eevee set. And that's obviously Eevee's a big popular one. And now we're pushing into May, which will release a Team Rocket set, which is, again, nostalgia. So I think the rise in the interest within Pokemon is not just supply and demand. It is actually interest. People are coming back to a hobby because, A, you have the people who love the cute cards, right? They love to see the cute cards. I had a customer tonight. She's like, I just love cute cards. That's awesome. But you're starting to see people who are getting engaged with what their childhood used to be. And a lot of times when we talk to our customers and to our friends, we call them family here at the Card Father. We call them the family. When we talk to our family members, it's because 151 brought them back. It's when they started to recollect the cards and started to recollect the sets. So the nostalgia is something that actually draws people back in. But there again, just like you guys had Shawn on a minute ago, he obviously it's nostalgia for you, right? Like you guys watched him play. I mean, you got to see him go at it in the basketball world. But in turn, it's people who played the game back in 1999. The nostalgia is really kicking through. But the market has changed because product is definitely not available. So the supply is outpaced it's dropped. The demand has outpaced the supply. So every human on the face of the planet who's involved in Pokemon, whether you're a scalper or whatever you want to call yourselves, a reseller, they're hitting every machine, they're hitting every Walmart and Target. And so you're starting to see the demand jump. And that means Pokemon can't print enough. So that's why you're starting to see market prices increase quite significantly recently.
Yeah, it's like anything else. You're absolutely right. It's awesome to see. It really is. And there's a lot of people that do intermingle between the sports and the Pokemon. And we look forward to this show this week. And I don't know what to expect. I've been told to expect the unexpected, I guess. I always get nervous before a show. I think that nobody's going to come, but I don't know. I do think that there might be a point in time where I just go, wow, this is pretty cool. So
I think you're going to see something significant occur. You guys, honestly, you're not abandoning your base, right? Your base is sports, and that's great. Stick to your bread and butter, guys. We'll love it. But there's been a contention between the sports world and the TCG worlds for a long time, and that's because we don't understand the sports world, and the sports world doesn't understand us. But it's you guys who are hosting shows that allow us to be featured and more prominent and be able to actually do what we do as vendors and as businesses, that we can advance the hobby and yet do it in a safe and environment where everybody can enjoy it. And I think that's the biggest thing we should all take away from any show or any market switch or anything, is that this is a hobby and we have to learn to keep it at that. When people start making this more about profit is when this really starts to become an issue. So I think your show is going to pop off. I'm very excited about it. I'm grateful to Greenies for allowing me to help be a sponsor of that show and to be able to attend. I cannot wait to show up 3 hours after I drive and start setting up for another 2 hours. So this is going to be a great drive for me, man. But I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with the amount of people that show up to the show, and you're going to have it again at some point.
Well, it's actually already scheduled with the venue. It's not out there for the public, but there is a date, and it's going to happen. Well, twofold. May, our Medina County Collectors Fair, we are having 200 tables available for Pokemon TCG. But then again, our Broadview Heights will happen again in October. But
for sure. Yeah. I'm excited about your Medina show and your GLCC. Those have been on my list for a little bit now since I met you guys last year. I'm very excited about those.
Cool. Before we let you go, tell us again where your store is and the name of it and where people can find you on your social media.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cardfather Games, we're in Grove City, Ohio, Southwest. We're minutes away from Card Collector. Come see us. We'd love to rip a pack or two and just joke around. I am pretty much primarily on Instagram and on YouTube, Cardfather Games on YouTube. That's where we do a lot of our content. We talk market analysis. We actually discuss TCGs. We showcase a lot of our shorts are us being at shows and point of views and us just loving on the community. So we'd love to see you. And of course, cardfathertcg.com is our website. You can always check out our inventory or get connected with us in some way, shape, or form.
Gary, awesome. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday, and we appreciate everything.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
Yep. Catch you later.
Gary. Well, Greenie, we went long tonight, but that's the beauty. Unlike broadcast TV, we can do that, and it's your show. So we wanted to make sure we got the content tonight, and which was tremendous. So, our thanks to Haley behind the board for doing great work as always. Our thanks to Joe Wysmierski of Phoenix Sports Cards for joining us, our resident hobby expert with all the updates. Thanks to Coach Shawn Hood for joining us. And of course, thanks to Gary Buchanan of Cardfather Games. And most of all, Greenie, thank you for allowing us to do this every week. And I believe we're going to have John Doss next week for Channel 5 Sports Director, talk a little bit of sports again. May have another vendor or so, talk about the upcoming events. And with that, I will say, Greenie, may the cards forever be in your favor.
Have a good night, everybody.